The clock kept ticking, but no official statement came from HYB. Silence, as it turns out, is the most deafening response. And silence is exactly what has surrounded Jimin and Jungkook's mysterious trip ever since. Fans, left to their own devices, began piecing together every frame of leaked footage, every angle of airport sightings, and even flight data. This wasn't merely about travel anymore. It was a full-scale decoding operation, a global fandom sleuthing for answers to questions no one dared to ask aloud. Had Jimin and Jungkook been sent abroad on a mission cloaked in secrecy? Were they preparing for a game-changing reveal, something that would fracture or reinvent BTS as we know it? The speculation didn't stay online. Journalists in Seoul began placing quiet inquiries with military PR departments. No one was willing to comment. What should have been a simple confirmation of procedural permissions was met with an uncanny diplomatic wall. The travel permits, some whispered, were expedited. Others claimed there were internal concerns over the optics of such high-profile exits occurring so soon after demobilization. Because when it comes to military service in South Korea, especially for celebrities, timing is everything. A day too early, a signature too swift. Suddenly, it's not just travel. It's controversy. It's national discourse. And for Jimin and Jungkook, two names synonymous with global fame, timing has always been both an asset and a liability. It's what helped BTS rise faster than any group before them, and what made every step they took outside the public eye feel suspicious. After all, what idols finish military service, take a breath, and jet off to another country within days, unless they're chasing something more than just rest. Behind closed doors, industry insiders began to buzz with a different narrative. There were rumors of new contracts, perhaps even international brand partnerships timed for maximum exposure post-military. Japan, as a market, has always been welcoming to BTS, often a soft launchpad before bigger moves into the global stage. Was this trip a prelude to something larger? An album, a tour, a film, or even something none of us have guessed yet? Whatever it was clear the public wasn't being told the whole story. A fan caught sight of Jungkook carrying what looked like a travel case, specifically designed for recording equipment. Jimin, on the other hand, was seen clutching a small notebook, his gaze unusually focused. These weren't props of relaxation. They were tools of work, of craft. And when ARMY saw that, the tone of online discourse began to shift. The excitement returned, tinged now with a nervous energy. Because if this was work, if this was preparation for something, then it meant BTS's next chapter was already in motion. And no one had been warned. Not even the military silence could stop the swell of anticipation. Fans around the world started trending hashtags like #JJKJProject and #Jimin Jungkook Next Era. They wanted answers, but more than that, they wanted the truth. Every comeback rumor, every speculative thread about solo debuts found renewed life. Creators on TikTok posted breakdowns of old interview clips, looking for foreshadowing. YouTubers went live with multi-hour streams titled Jimin and Jungkook. What's really going on? Some cried on camera. Others just stared into the lens, asking the question that everyone was afraid to say out loud. Are they being pushed too soon? Because behind the excitement was another feeling, one harder to talk about. Worry. Jimin and Jungkook had just spent nearly 2 years under the strict routine of military life. Their bodies may have healed, but what about their minds? What about the emotional toll of going from global stardom to military anonymity, then back to stardom with no pause? Was this trip a reward or a demand? And still, HYB said nothing. That silence is what made the next moment so explosive. On June 16th, 3 days after their airport appearance, a leaked rehearsal schedule allegedly surfaced on a Japanese music production forum. The names Jimin and Jungkook were typed next to block-booked studio hours at a top Tokyo facility. The entry was quickly deleted, but screenshots spread like wildfire. No longer were fans guessing blindly. They had a breadcrumb, a tangible one. And from there, the frenzy became unstoppable. An O-media outlet dared confirm it, but all of them reported it. A Tokyo-based radio host hinted at a massive Korean act preparing something exclusive. Billboard Japan posted a cryptic tweet. Tokyo summer. History may repeat or evolve. Fans were now certain. Something was happening. Something big. But amidst the chaos, the heart of the matter never changed. Two men. One unexpected trip. A nation watching. A fandom torn between love and concern. And one question looping louder and louder through comment sections and group chats alike. Were Jimin and Jungkook truly free, or were they being watched? The emotional impact of that question has stayed long after the initial frenzy passed. It's a question rooted in loyalty, in protectiveness. Fans don't just see Jimin and Jungkook as stars, they see them as family. And when family walks into the unknown, when it's unclear whether they're being celebrated or controlled, we all worry. For now, the truth remains hidden behind closed studio doors, inside classified military paperwork, and behind the guarded smiles of two idols who've learned how to keep the world guessing. But one thing is certain, whatever they're building, whether separately or together, will not go unnoticed. The countdown has already begun. The silence will not last forever, and when it breaks, so will the internet. As more footage emerged from fans who happened to be at Gimpo that day, viewers began dissecting each second like it was a crime scene. Not a single frame went unscrutinized. A close-up revealed Jimin's hand clenching momentarily before boarding, a subtle flex of muscle that fans read as restrained emotion. Another angle showed Jungkook glancing over his shoulder twice in quick succession, once toward the reporters and once toward the terminal. Was he searching for someone? Or watching out for something? Suddenly, this wasn't just a departure. It was a drama playing out in real time, without dialogue, but brimming with tension. Speculation spiraled. What if this wasn't entirely voluntary? What if pressure from the agency, from the government, or even from international stakeholders was the driving force behind this post-military expedition? With South Korea investing heavily in cultural exports and BTS being a proven pillar of national soft power, could the government have a vested interest in accelerating their return to global prominence? If true, it paints a darker picture. Not one of joyful comeback, but of burden, of responsibility so immense that even after years of sacrifice in military service, rest isn't a right, but a delay. Media began to respond. Not with answers, but with more questions. Korean tabloids hinted at growing concern inside the fanbase. Some international outlets questioned the ethics of celebrity deployment for national benefit. And HYB? Still silent. Still waiting. Or perhaps still calculating. Meanwhile, the fandom transformed into a machine. One half of it frantically tried to decode every movement. What started as admiration turned into collective protectiveness. Fans no longer demanded content, they demanded space. They wanted joy for the boys, not pressure. Freedom, not formatting. But this internal battle among fans only made the central mystery more urgent. Because beneath the fan wars, beneath the trending hashtags and TikTok theory spirals, lay a question everyone wanted answered but no one could prove. What's really happening behind closed doors? Insiders began leaking soft hints to industry blogs. A staff member from a Tokyo studio, speaking under anonymity, described a discreet, high-security booking involving two Korean artists. The building was cleared of outsiders, and staff were sworn to NDAs. But one line from the anonymous source sent chills across fandom spaces. Whatever they're doing in there, it's not small. That statement lit the fuse. YouTubers went into overdrive, predicting everything from a full-length Jungkook solo album to a Jimin dance film. Others said it had to be a documentary, raw, military-to-music transition footage that would shake the entire world. But not everyone was convinced this was purely creative. One Reddit user compiled a long, data-driven post suggesting this was part of a larger rebranding strategy, cooked up by HYB and pushed forward with military cooperation. The theory was simple but explosive. The government allowed a fast-track overseas trip in exchange for BTS's influence being used to serve South Korea's cultural diplomacy goals through appearances, collaborations, or strategic endorsements. No proof, of course. But when you're dealing with two of the most recognizable faces on Earth, conspiracies don't need fuel. They burn on their own. And amid all this swirling media tension, something strange happened. Jimin and Jungkook went dark. No posts.
No sightings.
No fan service. No airport returns. Just silence. A total blackout. And that silence? It became deafening. Every day that passed without update added to the storm. Armies who once celebrated their release from service were now refreshing Twitter and Weverse in desperation, begging for any signal, anything to prove their boys were okay, that they were still in control, that this wasn't spiraling into something tragic. One fan tweeted. They looked tired. Not physically. Soul tired. And now they're gone. I don't care about a comeback. I want them safe. That tweet alone received over 300,000 likes in 24 hours. It echoed the global mood. Anticipation had turned to anxiety. Celebration had soured into fear. Then, on June 19th, something changed. A 14-second video dropped on a verified Japanese concert production team's Instagram story. It was blurry,
Dark.
shot from behind a rehearsal room. Two male figures, one with a signature undercut, the other in a bucket hat and oversized black hoodie. They were dancing, in sync,
Hard.
together. The caption, biggest summer surprise, coming soon. It wasn't confirmed.
But it didn't need to be.
ARMY knew those silhouettes. They had memorized their movement like gospel. It was them. It was Jimin and Jungkook. Within minutes, Twitter collapsed. Weverse flooded. YouTube thumbnails exploded in neon font screaming, "It's real." Theories fell apart. New ones were born. And for the first time in weeks, the tone changed from fear back to fever. But the paranoia? It never fully left. Because even as fans celebrated, something still lingered. A feeling that this wasn't simply about music or fame. That perhaps, just perhaps, Jimin and Jungkook weren't completely free. That what we were about to witness was a spectacle, yes, but one built atop a foundation of duty, expectation, and sacrifice. And the biggest question of all still remained. Was this their dream? Or someone else's? The final answer hasn't arrived. But the stage is set. The world is watching. And when they finally speak, when Jimin and Jungkook break their silence, it won't just be a comeback, it will be a reckoning. And then, on June 21st, a statement dropped. Not from HYB. Not from the military. Not from an official government body. It came from Jungkook. One line. One post. One sentence written in Korean on Weverse, translated instantly by millions across the world. Just 10 words. Not everything is what it looks like. Please trust us. That was it. No context. No video. No follow-up. But those 10 words changed everything. Armies around the world held their breath.
Some cried.
Others stare at their screens, stunned. Because the message wasn't a celebration. It wasn't a comeback teaser. It was a plea, a quiet warning, a soft shield. And it confirmed what many had feared. There was more to the story than anyone knew. Jimin remained silent. But that, in its own way, spoke even louder. The absence of his voice left a gap filled only by interpretation and heartbreak. The media, of course, pounced. Major outlets from Seoul to Tokyo to New York published front-page articles speculating what Jungkook meant. Some theorized it was damage control, a subtle admission of an ongoing crisis behind the scenes. Others framed it as a clever marketing ploy, a viral, vague message to stir buzz for an impending announcement. But for those who know Jungkook, the real Jungkook, it didn't feel like strategy. It felt like a whisper of truth slipping through a wall that had become too tall, too cold. Behind the scenes, industry insiders whispered of increasing tension between BTS members and their management. Rumors of creative differences, of aggressive timelines, of pressure to deliver something record-breaking just weeks after demobilization. Some sources suggested HYB had been planning this project since before their enlistment began, laying the groundwork, lining up collaborators, securing locations, without ever once asking the boys if they were ready. This wasn't just about music. It was about agency, about control. Were Jimin and Jungkook partners in this plan? Or were they simply the faces, forced to smile while the machine behind them decided when and where they would shine? Fans were split. Many clung to optimism. This was just pre-release tension, they said. The calm before the storm. The boys had always come through before. They'd deliver magic again. But others weren't so sure. They looked at the weight in Jungkook's words, at the silence from Jimin, and they saw something deeper. Something breaking. Then came the leak that on June 23rd, a folder appeared on a private Discord server, a supposedly secure drop that included a draft of a tour itinerary titled JJK Reconnection. It listed Japan, Singapore, and Los Angeles as early locations. The most chilling detail? The start date, July 2nd. Less than 2 weeks after the leak. Less than 3 weeks after military discharge. Fans reeled. There was no way, they thought. No way HYB would expect them to prepare a full-scale tour that fast. But the document seemed real. Metadata, signatures, watermarking. And slowly, a terrifying possibility came into focus. This wasn't sudden. It was scripted, preordained, planned down to the second. Jungkook and Jimin were already in motion, and there was no pause button. The leak sent the fandom into overdrive. Petitions popped up demanding the delay of any tour until the artists could confirm their physical and mental well-being. Letters were sent to HYB's headquarters, to lawmakers, to the Ministry of Culture. Some fans even launched a campaign to boycott any concert that wasn't accompanied by a clear statement from the artists themselves. But still, no word from Jimin, and that silence? It was no longer poetic. It felt like a scream no one could hear. Until June 25, a video dropped on the official BTS YouTube channel with no warning. It was titled simply, "We're Home." It opened with the sound of waves. Then, a black screen. Then Jimin's voice, gentle, shaky, real. "We've